special good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio, those of you viewing GBN TV. Good morning and welcome to It's To The Point for today, the 12th day of November. Yes, Tuesday the 12th of November. And it's Opposition Tuesday here on To The Point. I'm your host, GT. Let me say good morning to my guest this morning. Of course, Honorable Peter David, the of course MP that represents the town of St. George, representing the opposition this morning. MP David, good morning. How are you doing this morning, sir?
Excellent. Raining outside, which is good and bad. Sometimes the rain gives us some trouble, but we need the rain. But I'm having a good morning. Thank you.
Right,
Thank you for having me.
I've been in here for a minute, so I haven't looked outside since I got here this morning, so I didn't know it was actually raining this morning.
But I'm good.
It's all good. Well, it's nice to have you back on the program once again. It was just a couple of months ago. You did promise you were going to return.
Yes. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to share with people where I am at, where the party is at, where the country, where my views are on the country. But a pleasure. Thank you for having me again.
All right. Let's get the conversation rolling off the ball this morning. Let's speak a wee bit about your representation for the town of St. George. Mm-hmm. Are you pleased with your representation for the town of St. George from the inception to where it's at now? If you're going to give yourself a rating, folks may not like to rate themselves. You understand?
No, I wouldn't rate myself.
But how do you feel in terms of the rate of your representation for the town of St. George?
Representing the town of St. George has been a pleasure for me over the years. I think, as I say to people, I'm from the town of St. George, been in the town of St. George all my life, and I'm really grateful that the people of the town of St. George has had the confidence in me. I think over the years that I've been a member for the town of St. George, there's been improvement in the town of St. George. And there are a number of things that have happened in the town of St. George since. I think work among young people, when we had the Empower program and all these programs, seeing young people develop skills. There's a lot to be done. A lot more needs to be done. But I'm happy with where we are. I think there's a lot more that could be done. I think, remember, a lot that happens in the town of St. George comes from central government. So a lot needs to take place. But, we have the stadium, we have the new port facility in the town of St. George. We have the river road rehabilitation project has started and has gotten to a substantial way. There's a lot more to be done with it. Infrastructure. I think a couple of the things include roads in the town of St. George needs to be improved, and some of the buildings in the town of St. George. People complain a lot about the fact that we have a lot of derelict buildings in the town of St. George, but I think if you go into the villages, like you go into Darbo, you go into Mount Rush, I'm very proud of the Kalata Road that joins the Mount Rush side with the Darbo side. That Kalata Road is something that has done a whole lot for the people there. Yes. There are a number of small roads going inside the areas of the town of St. George. So a lot has been done, but a lot more needs to be done. I think in terms of infrastructure, a lot has been done, but in terms of affecting people's lives, better housing, and all of that, education, training, a lot more needs to be done. But a lot depends on central government. But I am happy with my representation, yes.
All right, great. My question that will follow up on this, will we see you representing the town of St. George just in case another election pops into play? Or will you still be representing?
Of course. It's my intention to run again in the town of St. George. In fact, the fact that I'm putting up myself for leadership of the NMP is a signal for that. I wouldn't put up myself for leadership of the NMP and not, that is a clear signal. I have to have a seat to be leader of the party. And I do believe, and I'm confident that I have the capacity to be the leader. And I do believe that I have the support of the people. The political leader has indicated he's not running again. He's repeated it several times. When we were in New York last week, he repeated it again, that the time is coming soon when he's going to. So yes, I will be running for the town of St. George again, and I do expect to be running as leader of the NNP, but that depends on the people of the NNP, whether or not they accept me.
That would lead my question into the convention. So. Your take. The conversation, we just had the General Council a couple of weeks ago. That went pretty well. The conversation is still out there, of course, in terms of we've been hearing different conversation in terms of when it's going to be held, whether it's December, whether it's January, and so forth. Your take on, will there be a convention? What's your take on that, sir?
There has to be a convention. It is mandated by our Constitution. There is an indication that the convention will be held by the end of this year. I'm not sure. The mechanics have not been put in place, but if not by the end of the year, I'm certain it will be sometime early next year. But that depends on the executive of the party and the general secretary and his staff. But certainly there will be a convention, and I've indicated that to the party. You see, this is not me running any underground campaign. By a letter dated August 3rd earlier this year, I indicated it to the party. August 3rd last year actually, I indicated it to the party. I've met with the political leader at the time. I indicated to him I'll be running as the leader for the leadership of the party. There has been no resistance to that. Of course, we've had some discussions back and forth. But yes, I will be putting up my name for leadership of the party at the convention. I do expect that the party will fulfill its constitutional mandate, which is to have a convention. And of course, at the convention, I will put my name up to run for leadership of the party. And as I said, I've discussed it. This is not an underground campaign or anything sinister. I've indicated it to the leader in a meeting with him. I've indicated it to the executive in a meeting with them. I've indicated it to a committee of the party that has discussed it with me. And I've indicated to my constituents and to the world. So I do expect to have my name on the ballot at the convention.
Another question that comes to mind. Now, with all the brouhaha, as some folks would say, that you're saying on various forums, of course, your intention to run for political leader of the party when the convention do take place. Right. Has it made any feeling of indifference for you of still wanting to put yourself up as leadership?
No, it's, this is politics.
With all the talk that has been going
around. But I have been in politics in Grenada for over 50 years. And I've been through many a crisis in Grenada. I've been through many difficulties in parties. And listen, the more struggle you have in your quest for in your political life is the more strength you have to deal with these issues. Of course, there has been a lot of discussion back and forth, a lot of comments back and forth, but I've been focused. I've been focused on wanting to build the NNP. You see, the truth is, I believe the NNP is the party that represents working people of this country and represents all sectors of Grenadian society. I do believe that the NNP has a larger base and the NNP has a solid history. And my quest for leadership of the NNP is not just for leadership. It is to build a party, to strengthen a party that I believe is the best party. And that is my view. It is the best party to run this country, and it is the best party to represent all sectors. The business community, the working people, the farmers, all of these people, in my view, and I'm sure they will agree with this, have been best represented by the new National Party. And the leadership of Dr. Mitchell over the years has led to a lot of good things, and now he's indicated he's moving on. We have to find new leadership with the experience, with the knowledge, with the capacity. And I do believe that my experience over the years in both parties, in several governments, and several ministries, agriculture, labor, foreign affairs, all of that experience, in my view, leads me and many people who have spoken to me to the view that I will be the best leader going forward, and I'm therefore going to put my name. But I do believe the NNP is an institution that is really, really representative of all people in Grenada, particularly working people, and certainly the business community, farmers, and all of those sectors of Grenadian society.
Another question I would like to ask you, sir. As a veteran politician, leader of Grenada politics over the years, what is the most pressing issue you would say that faces us in this time in our history?
One of the things that I'm talking about, an overarching issue, you raise something that is of serious concern to me, is the fact that we have a very divided society. Yeah. I believe that there are things we all agree on. NNP, NDC, PLM, NOF, whatever party it is, that we all agree on. Working people have some fundamental issues that needs to be addressed. And a lot of these issues can be addressed if we just sit at the table and talk. I have been in NNP, I've been in NDC, and there are good people in both parties. There are people who mean well for this country in both parties. So when you hear me criticizing the NDC, it is the policies and the implementation of some of the policies. And similarly, NDC criticizes NNP on some of the policy issues. So I think us coming together to chart the way forward on major issues like agriculture, tourism, healthcare is one of the big things. So, for example, healthcare. I believe healthcare is an issue that has challenged all political parties going forward. And I hear this government has said some things about healthcare that I disagree with. Now, I don't want to be fighting. I want us to sit at the table, which brings me to one of the criticisms I have about this administration. It's failure to consult, it's failure to discuss, it's failure to take advice. No, I have said, and we have said, and all of us in Parliament on the NMP side have said, we are prepared to work with the government. This is not a zero-sum game where we fight you, you fight us, and the country loses. Let us sit down. The NMP has had the most experience in running this country, and everybody accepts. And if you go on the street, you hear people saying, boy, when the NMP was there were problems, but there was this, there was that. LNP had the ability to get monies into the hands of working people, into the hands of our people, so we can hit the streets. We have a difficulty with that now. Inflation is skyrocketing. People are going into the supermarkets. Every time I go to the supermarket, somebody is bawling. So I think a fundamental issue, prices of food stuff, healthcare, some fundamental issues. But I do think that underlying all of that is a failure of this government to sit and have discussions with the opposition, with those of us who have been in government. No member of the present government was in government before. So, of course, they have challenges. I'm not saying that they mean bad, but certainly they need to take advice and they need to sit and discuss with persons who have been there already. That is a fundamental problem, but there are many issues arising out of that failure to have consultation.
Well, I, of course, understand you there. You mentioned it briefly, and I think we're probably going to get into that conversation a wee bit now. Healthcare, the hospital being made a statutory body. That's and you mentioned, of course, your displeasure in the process in which has been taken and how it's been going about. What could have been done different about healthcare in your perspective?
Well, one of the fundamental challenges of healthcare, it's expensive. But we are not in a place where people in Grenada can pay for the health care that is required. People will tell you when they go to Trinidad how much it costs, when they go to the States how much it costs. Now, people go to the States simply because they find a way to get through the system and get it done without a cost. But it costs somebody, and it costs the state. I think we need to sit and discuss how to improve the health system given the challenges it faces. Now, there have been many proposals. In our administration in NMP, the question of the national health insurance was on the table. In fact, a lot has been done. I am not sure what this government is doing about that. The national health insurance was a proposal placed before cabinet and was actually in the process of being implemented when the elections came around. We need to revisit that. We need to look, the statutarization is something that was considered years ago. It's not a new idea. And it was recommended that it will not solve the problems. Yeah. We need to look at that. Will a new hospital solve the problem? No. I don't believe so. It is not a question of a new hospital. It is a question of the service. A new hospital will cost more money. Service in that hospital will be very expensive. Can we afford it? The bottom line, I do not want to sit here today and say hypocritically that I have the solution to all the problems. I think we need to take a national approach where both the opposition, the government, and other bodies sit and have a conversation about the best way, and everybody gets on board. I'm not going to say that we have the answer to all the problems, else we would have solved healthcare a long time ago. It has been something that has plagued each government through the years. Ever since I was a kid, healthcare was a problem. So I believe the fundamental issue is for us to get on the table, sit and talk about it. I don't believe statutarizing the health system or the hospital is the answer to the problem. The single answer to the problem. I don't believe that a new hospital is a single answer to the problem. I don't believe maybe what we need to do is sit down and discuss NHI again. Sit down and discuss approaches and get people on deck as a country, not as a party, not as a government, but as a party to solve the problem of healthcare.
You keep referencing consultation as something that is the lack of by the government. The government are saying that they are having consultation. They are individuals saying the appropriate people that should be involved in the consultation are not being part of it.
Absolutely.
Your take in terms of consultation, in terms of the various problems we have, and from the hospital to agriculture to all the other issues that are plaguing us, where the people that should be involved, whether you're appropriate third individual shouldn't be involved, and the lack of it in a broad sense. Your take on the lack of consultation as it stands?
I mean, the word that comes to mind all the time is arrogance. You know, you get into power. It was quite easy. I mean, I don't even think the guys themselves expected to get into power in the last election, but you're into power, you got it easy, so you figure, well, I'm in charge now. It doesn't work that way. I said to my friends in the government, and I have many friends in the government, just as easy as you got in, just as easy as you can go out. The bottom line is people voted in the last elections for a particular reason, and people will vote in elections, the next elections, for a particular reason. And the reasons will be high cost of living, lack of adequate health care, and lack of fulfillment of the promises that were made on the election campaign in the last election. The bottom line is they need to get rid of this arrogance and listen. Listen to people. I remember when we had the debate on the gun bill, the gun legislation. We said to them that there were going to be difficulties. We said to them, because none of them are in the criminal justice system, none of them have experience in that. We offered our help. The Bar Association offered its help. They said, listen, we all agree. In fact, at the bar, we have an initiative to help deal with crime. We face it every day. I face mothers who lose their kids to the violence and mothers who lose their kids to the prisons because of the violence. We know the problem. We are not part of the problem. We are trying to be part of the solution. We said to them, please let us sit down. We received a letter saying, well, we sent you the bill, look at the bill, send us back your notes. That is not consultation. The magistrates should be consulted. The judges should be consulted. The lawyers should be consulted. The organizations like the probation office and all of these institutions, every day, my brother, I go to that court. I'm heading there after this session. Every day I go to that court to see mothers crying, kids having problems. Let us come together. The Bar Association has an initiative to deal with violence. They are as concerned as every one of us. But the government believed in its arrogant wisdom that they had the answer. But it has not worked. The violence has not been reduced because of a gun bill, because that is not the single problem that we have. Cutlass violence is as bad, if not worse, than gun violence. Are we going to pass a law saying that we ban all cutlasses? No, we're going to try to get the root. The root of crime is where you attend to the solution, not the manifestations of the crime.
So are you saying so that these laws being passed has not solved the problem?
It has not solved the problem. In fact, if you speak to the people in the criminal justice system, it has backed up the system. It has backed up the system in that what we have now is a slowdown of the delivery of justice because of all these bail applications and inability to come to solutions, because nobody sat with us and said, listen, when you have this problem, how are you going to solve it? You're sending people to prison and they're spending weeks up there for having a toy gun, for having a floto. People who are not doing anything with it. Somebody's found with a bullet. You must send them to jail. And we have these challenges. I mean, I don't want to go into the details here today, but there are details of the bill that was not addressed simply because, and we said to the guys in Parliament, brothers, sisters, let us talk. No, and they went ahead and do it. Arrogance, I think, in governance. When you're in government, you must learn to listen. People elected you, but they can you could diselect them later if you wish, because you don't listen. All I'm saying to the government, I know many of them and they have good intentions. But the road, my mother always used to say, sometimes the road ahead is paved with good intentions. It's not your intentions, it is the result of what you're doing. And I think in healthcare, in a crime issue, in agriculture, this government needs to sit more with people to discuss where we're going forward. And I'm not sitting here bashing the government. I'm sitting here offering the government advice. So I don't want anybody calling and saying, yes, why you didn't do this? No. Government is a continuum. We all have to come together. When you're in office, you have to listen. When you're out of office, you have to listen. The point is we must come together. And our role as opposition is to give advice. Of course we made mistakes through our tenure. Of course we could be accused of doing some things, and that is the nature of government. But as opposition, it is our function to say to this government, you are doing things in a way that we believe is not appropriate for the development of this country, which is what we are all interested in.
All right. We drew for a break, so we'll be right back. Stay with us, our listeners and viewers. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch your dial.
is you. Tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
and the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Grenada Duty Free and GBN, we are partnering for this Christmas season. Folks, it's going to be a bumper one. We can actually start feeling the energy, the vibe we start building, the promotions that start coming in, and the fragrances, the chocolate. We have up 15%, 20%, 40%. It's going to be a crazy one. We are looking forward to seeing you. We are ready to treat you guys special. We are ready to give back to you after this whole year of, being with us and everything and the support. So with our partnership with GBN, it's going to be a bumper season. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with the GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbards, Flow, Duty Free Caribbean, and I'm Supportings.
Coming up, Friendship 7K excitement, local business support in St. Martin, greater air travel to destinations like Barbuda, accommodated in style, the contributions of Raymond Lawrence. It's all next on this station.
Welcome back once again, listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. I have, of course, MP Peter David us this morning. He's the representative for the Tongue of St. George. MP, welcome back once again. We have so much to talk about. Time is not on our side. One question I want to throw, just get your point of view on this morning. No, you elect the new, of course, elected the U.S. president. Good or bad for Caribbean? What's your take on that?
Well,
I just
an American president is an American president. I mean, there's much more running the country than the presidency. So
yes.
We must bear that in mind, that America has certain, I spoke just now about us having among ourselves at least agreeing on what we agree on and doing that. In America, there's that. So the change, there will be some differences. I think the Trump administration, the Democratic Party, I should say, has had a better relationship with the Caribbean than Republican parties. So I think there will be a change in that attitude. One of the issues that confront us in the Caribbean is Cuba.
Yeah.
I really am concerned about Cuba because, we treat Cuba as if it's far away, but Cuba is right there. But in addition to that, if you go to any of our hospitals in the region, we speak about healthcare, it is because of the Cuban generosity and the way the Cubans function that our hospitals are running with doctors in every island. And that's not in Grenada, in every island, Cuban doctors. So the attitude towards Cuba, whether or not the Trump administration will do more to ease the blockade, what I call a very criminal blockade against people who have chosen a particular course in their own country. I am not suggesting that the Biden administration did anything to ease it up. I think Obama did have some efforts make some steps in his last term to ease the blockade and to ease the restrictions. And I would have hoped that Kamala, if she gets there, would continue the Obama policy. Biden didn't. In fact, Biden pulled back on a lot of it, which was disappointing to the region. Trump has had a much more aggressive posture in relation to how he deals with it. In fact, there are some indications that he may have gone very hard against Cuba, against Venezuela, against countries that have been good to us. You see, we have to also seek our interests, my brother. We have to look out for what is good for our countries. We must understand that Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, all of us have interests. And I do believe that the Trump administration may be a little more less tolerant to the region and to persons pursuing their own paths than the Biden administration. But I do not believe there'll be any fundamental change in posture. We've gone through the Reagan administration, the Obama administration, all of these administrations, and quite frankly, I don't see the Trump administration as doing anything different or in any major way different. Of course, the way he runs the United States is a different thing. The issue of racism, the issue of fascism in the United States, the rise of the ultra-right, that is going to affect Grenadians in the diaspora, and of course that rise of fascism with the fascist tendencies on the right, the hard right, the racists in these hard right organizations can certainly affect government policy towards countries. You remember how Mr. Trump described our countries when he talked about the countries of Africa, how he described our countries before. I do expect that there will be a change for the worse, but how much worse, I cannot sit here and pretend to predict a man who has become very unpredictable in his political discourse.
Youth unemployment is always a concern for all governments and around. This time around, the tongue of St. George, your take on it, youth unemployment. What's some of the issues that you've been hearing, sir, in terms of youth unemployment? Youth wanting training and youth wanting ways to improve themselves on a whole.
That discussion has been linked to the issue of crime and the rise in crime, that there is an alienation among young people. I see it. The blocks have been filled up. I remember during the NMP administration, I'm not suggesting that we solved all the problems. I'm not suggesting it was a perfect world. But there were less youth idle on the blocks because of all these programs, the Empower and the various programs you hear articulated on this program that we had for young people, the training. I had all the time, youth would come up to me and say, Mr. David, I need help to buy a saw or to buy a chainsaw or to buy some equipment for electrical work. When I traveled, people would always ask me for a tool. I don't get that anymore because these training programs have not been utilized the way NMP did it. So I think that has had an impact on young people. The blocks are filling up. Crime is becoming an alternative because I do not, while they talk young people, while they are young people, and we don't want just faces of young people in government. We want young people in government, certainly, but with wisdom to care for our younger population. And I have parents calling me every day. As I said to you before, I'm on the front line of that. I had a call just a while ago on the way here for a mother asking me to help her son look for a job. So these things are problematic, and I do believe that the government is not focused. I think, again, lack of experience. Arrogance combined with lack of experience is a hell of a thing. And that is what's happening. We have gone through these things. We have some solutions, and if by the grace of God these guys would listen, I have respect for them. The people have elected them. They are our leaders. They comprise our government. So we must work with them. I would urge them, and I'm urging them as I speak here today, to let us have conversations across the aisle about how we solve these problems. I'm at the age where all I want to see is my years of struggle for a better Grenada. At the end of my time, there is a much better Grenada than when we started in the 1970s, this journey to try to develop this country. So that is my view of young people. I think we need to do more.
The Sister Isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique, post Hurricane Beryl, we're still hearing of the issues that is still occurring there. Your take on how the government has handled post Hurricane Beryl? Again, I don't want to keep saying it. A hurricane is not an easy issue. It is not easy to deal with because there's the issue of what is priority, what is not priority. There's a whole lot of people rushing in to say they're contractors and they can do this. There's a lot to be done, and it needs the experience of people who've done it. NMP and all of us in the
NMP, and even some persons who were in the NDC before, because I know I've heard complaints from persons who have been in the NDC and who have experienced things before, being sidelined and alienated by the younger generation within the party. They need to be brought in to help. So, for example, in Carriacou, the question of what is priority, you have complaints all the time that there's the issue of distribution, there's the issue of allowing some people to get more than others, there's the issue of trying to the minister himself trying to control everything. And that is not what people need to see. People need to see there's equity in distribution of resources. People need to see that there's fairness in all of it. And I think people are complaining that at this stage, that has not been indicative of how this government is operating.
I mean, it's only been 3 months going on 4 months now since after the burial. The most of the complaints you've been hearing is that you didn't mention it. Could more have been done to improve the lives of the folks in Carriacou?
Absolutely. A lot more could have been done in the distribution, in the involvement of people on the mainland, in the involvement of the opposition. During the Hurricane Ivan, I remember, and Dr. Mitchell spoke about it the other day, that we reached across the aisle, opposition and government, to assist, because we cannot have development with only half of the population involved, not only in the implementation, but in the decision making. Mr. Cox and others who represent the NMP should be an integral part of the reconstruction process. Everybody gets the credit, government gets the credit for doing it, and everybody gets the benefit. So yes, a lot more could have been done. The details I don't want to go into now. Mr. Cox elaborates it all the time. But I think, again, the key problem is an arrogance that makes certain politicians believe that they alone should be involved because they don't want Cox to get any praise, Cox's opposition. No. In a crisis, there's no opposition and government, my brother. There are people who are suffering. And all of us, if we really care about this country, will reach across to reach other people to assist in the process.
Agriculture, one of the, of course, the ministries that you were minister of course, in the previous administration. We hearing of what is taking place now, especially post-Hurricane Beryl. The farmers are receiving, there are farmers who have received, of course, some incentives to help them in terms of improve their farms and stuff again. What have you been hearing, sir, that is of concern to you in terms of how the process is going about right now?
Well, I have been speaking to farmers. As I said before, on many occasions, it is one of the industries that one of the ministries I spent the least amount of time in, but one I grew to love the most. And farmers are indicating that in the distribution, there's this, what do you call it, this offer incentive, can't remember the name they're referring to it, that the government promised that everybody will get it. But everybody has not received it. And there seems to be, again, a perception that some people are receiving it because of political allegiance. Now, I cannot confirm that. I'm simply saying what the perception is. And again, that perception is because a promise was made and not being fulfilled. The promise was that everybody, X amount of money for people with less than 5 acres, X amount of money with people with more than 5 acres. And that has not been done. But I think a more fundamental problem coming out of Beryl is not the distribution of money alone. That's a problem, and the farmers are very upset about that. But the issue of the way forward for nutmeg and cocoa farmers, they were hit by Ivan, and Ivan caused, for years, it took to
get it back to the state
and to get them back to the state. And then Beryl comes along and knocks down the tree crops. There are a lot of farmers. In fact, I spoke to one about 4 weeks ago who said to me, listen, man, I take, blues again. I knocking down all them trees and I go in and put on some cottages and see if I could develop some kind of tourism, ecotourism project. There is a frustration. And the younger generation is not too attracted to agriculture, so there's a problem of farmers now. How do we get the younger farmers to think, nutmeg and cocoa? Because nutmeg is not short term. Younger people are thinking more lettuce, cantaloupe, watermelon, quick returns to the hotels and so on. We need, as I said it at a meeting at the Trade Center about a month ago that we need a sit down with the farmers associations and then the commodity boards. The commodity boards are in a crisis. The cocoa and nutmeg are in a crisis. The marketing board, what is happening with the marketing board? The marketing board is an important institution. So all of these things, the marketing board, the commodity boards, the farmers, long-term farmers, cocoa nutmeg farmers who are not seeing a path forward, particularly when they know some of them in their 50s, early 60s, when they look down the road, they see a whole gap in their life. And then the linkages with the tourism industry. We have new hotels. In fact, I was very instrumental in bringing several hotels. You have the Silver Sands, you have the Six Senses, and then you have the Intercontinental coming, then you have the hotel in St. Patrick's, and you have a lot of other smaller hotels springing up around the place, and then you have the St. George's University. How do we link agriculture? Not say it. How do we properly link, structurally link, and organically link the marketing board, the producers of agriculture into the tourism sector? Because quite frankly, that is a market that we have. Rather than exporting, sometimes you export internally to the tourism industry. And that is a concept of tourism as an increasing population. See the tourism industry as an increasing population. So I think those are some fundamental issues, and I called for, and I repeat the call, a conference to discuss the future of the agricultural sector in Grenada, so we all, not opposition, not government, we all as a nation have a clear view of where the sector is going to go, what are our priorities, and how do we create the linkages for the tourism industry. And again, people would ask, why didn't we do it? Of course we did much. We did much in that regard. And there's more to be done. Government always have to keep going. Government doesn't have an end. Government is a continuum. Parties play their role every 5 years in leading the government.
My question that I would like to ask in this segment, because through some of this, after this segment, folks, we're probably going to entertain some calls from our listeners and viewers. Now, it's been clearly established that Grenada has hydrocarbon deposits in our offshore, waters. How do you see the recent, foray of, the Nigerians as possible partners in, in refining our crude? Do you trust the Nigerians? If I can say that, in fact, do you say that? Do you think that we have a choice? I don't know. Choice.
I don't know that I have any particular view of Nigerians. They're wonderful people. They are our ancestors. So yes, I trust Nigerians. But what we need to do, Ronald Reagan famously said once, trust but verify. Whatever we do, we must verify. The fact is that the oil issue is a very important one for us. I was part of the delimitation process. I remember when we went to Trinidad as Minister for Foreign Affairs back in 2010-11, around there. We did the delimitation with Trinidad, and as part of that, there were substantial discussions about the oil deposits, and we even discussed further delimiting with Venezuela on the continental shelf, where there is even more there than on the areas that they are now exploring, because we believe on the continental shelf, which border gives us a border, because we do have a border, meaning a sea limitation area with Venezuela also and Trinidad. We've done Trinidad, but we have to do Venezuela. And we began, in fact, I signed an agreement with Venezuela to begin that process. We must look at that. Now, the issue now is there's two issues. One is whether or not oil or gas, because it's not just oil, it's oil or natural gas. Natural gas being the better product if we have that. Now, I think, based on what I've heard, that there have been studies done on our capacity, meaning we have. The last issue I heard about was to determine the quality, because you can have a whole heap of oil, but not of the grade that is the best. So I think that has been determined. Now, whether or not we develop it depends on the relations we developed. And of course, we have to go to some of these experience. We don't have oil magnates in Grenada, so we have to go to Nigeria or to Saudi Arabia or to wherever in the world we can find people. There was a Russian company, that GPG, that signed a deal with Grenada, and I think this government is pursuing that arrangement, but extending it to some persons, some companies in Nigeria. So I have no issue with that. What I want is a little more transparency. Because I think, and of course people are going to say, well, when you were in government, this, that, I understand that. What I am asking today is that this government is a bit more transparent, but also to work with the previous government. I think Minister Bowen has indicated he's given them the documents. There was a big controversy that government documents were lost. I would like to hear a public apology on that issue, but that's a matter we can take up with the government. But certainly Mr. Bowen's name was suggested that he left with documents, and that was absolutely untrue. In any event, it is my wish that yes, we pursue oil and gas, whether or not it is Nigeria, Azerbaijan, or wherever it is. But we must have transparency and a discussion with the people of Grenada, because at the end of the day, oil has a good side and a bad side. It can develop a country, it can destroy a country. All of the major countries with oil. Look at Trinidad, what happened in Trinidad. Oil did a lot good, did a lot bad. Nigeria, a lot good, a lot bad. So we must have a national discussion, and that discussion was started a few years ago when we did the delimitation to talk about whether or not we should have a sovereign fund with the monies. There needs to be a wider ranging discussion on the oil capacity and what do we do with the oil resources. We don't want to end up in a country where everybody stops building hotels and they start just spending oil money. That would be the end of Grenada as we know it. So we need that.
With our lack of experience to give, that plays an important part.
Absolutely.
So we due for a break. And folks, when we come back from this break, we will take your calls. And I beg of you, when we come back with the calls, please ask your question directly so we can accommodate as much calls as possible, because we do have a limited time in this segment. We'll be right back after the break.
Looking to
I'm Stacia Blake with GBN News. From all of us here at the Grenada Broadcasting Network, we wish you and your family a joyous holiday season filled with peace, love, and happiness. Thank you for continuing to make GBN our nation's #1 newscast. It's been our honor throughout 2024 to bring you timely updates of local and international news, and we'll continue to earn your trust as we move into 2025. We wish our beautiful island nation God's continued protection as we move forward as one people who are on one journey with one future. Happy holidays from the GBN News team.
Hi, we're here at Answer Coating Grenada Limited, a proud sponsor of Christmas with GBN. And this year, we're giving up to 40% off various items.
And customers actually have the opportunity to win up to $1,000 cash. So we encourage you to stay tuned to Christmas with GBN and look out for all other in-store promotions and product information.
And don't forget, this December, a night of shopping with Answer Coatings.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbard's, Flow, Grenada Duty Free, and Answer Coatings.
I tell people nurses are not just nurses in the region. We really do owe them sincere appreciation, love, gratitude.
Meeting people in a vulnerable state, it's definitely a calling. And that's why I chose this profession.
We appreciate these people for really bringing us through challenging times. We appreciate you. We love you.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Welcome back once again. Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. It's Tuesday, the 12th day of November. Did promise in this segment, for mention, I should say, in this segment, that we'll be taking your calls from our listeners and viewers. And I beg of you, because of the time constraints, we have to wrap up at least just a few minutes before 10 this morning. So I ask of you to be brief in terms of your questions you may like to ask. Let's entertain our first caller. Caller, good morning, and you are live.
Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford. I'll be brief. Good morning to your guest there, Mr. David. Greetings, Pete.
My dear brother, good morning, citizen. How you been?
Listen, man, I listened to you this morning. Of course, you inspire all the confidence, you know. I feel good listening to you, Pete. I really do. But there's something that we're missing. The criticisms, or should I say the critical observations of the current administration, and I do share your views on them. They don't listen. But neither did the previous one listen. Neither did the previous one under which you served, Pete. You have to admit that too. But this is the problem. The problem is, why is it when you take the certain parties, quote unquote, win elections and so on, and the administration take office, they listen to no one. They do not listen to the people, whether it's an official opposition or not. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the system, and I underline the word system, that we live in provides the conditions to take the quote unquote power, which is in effect authority granted by the people, not power. But they sequester the power of the constituent power of the people, and they do. Now, to the point and to the question, my dear brother, it is widely known by the state or authority, the state, that this here country is still a colony of Great Britain. No one can doubt that because the documentations are there. You know, to establish to be a sovereign and politically independent and sovereign nation state, that we have to have four things. One, a population, established population, a defined borders, The third being the capacity of the state or the government to interact with other governments. But the fourth one is not ruled by a foreign power. No monarchy. We are ruled by a monarchy because we cannot in effect have two sovereigns. Peter, what is your intention about this matter so that we get this matter resolved? You spoke about sit down, yes, that is true. That's how we have to do it. What is your view about a constituent assembly or a constitutional convention assembly or Congress so that we as a people of this country can define the future of this country and get out of the colonial control that we have been under? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
Citizen, you've always hit some fundamental notes. Now, you're absolutely correct. We need to address the constitution that we inherited from Britain, that was imposed upon us, and we need to have a discussion about a constitution that is more reflective of the power of the people. I agree with you fundamentally on that. The issue is that the system that the British gave us, in order for us to deal with that question, we must unite, because we need to have that referendum with a 2/3 majority. So, as I've always said, it's a bit of a trick that the British played on us. We have a constitution that, in a sense, the structure that has developed, the system has created divisions in our society that are deep within our communities. But in order to change it, we have to be united. So it's a catch-22 kind of situation. But how do we do it? We do it by what I've indicated: sitting down and have a discussion about what is best for Grenada, not what is best for my party or your party. What is best? Because we are all going to pass on, my brother Rolo, as we are all well aware. We are all going to die. We should not leave the divisive nature of our society. And I agree with you. We need to move away from the colonial sovereign that we have. But we tried to get a court system that is free of the Privy Council, and we failed, because people voted against it. We tried to make the previous government try to put in term limits, and we failed because the other party voted against it. We tried to make some fundamental changes to rights and privileges, but we failed. And why did we fail? Because we had somebody in the other party, I heard them famously say, yes, we agree to all of it, but not with your party in power. Then when the other party comes into power, the other person says, we agreed it, but you are against us. When we brought it, we are against you. And my dear brother Rolo, I worry that we are fighting our way to the bottom. Let us come together. That is why I speak all the time about unity. We will only develop this country if we find a way to agree on what we agree on and disagree on what we disagree on. But let's not disagree on what we agree on. If we agree on something, we agree on it, regardless if it comes from green, yellow, blue, red, or pink. So I welcome your comments, and I urge you to keep up your struggle for more independence. Thank you, my brother.
Caller, good morning once again, and be brief, please. Good morning to you.
Morning, Peter. Yes, Mr. David. Quickly, is today the birthday of your party leader? I saw it somewhere.
Yes.
If it is, I would like to wish him a happy birthday. I didn't hear you mention it.
I was going to mention it at the end of the program that I wish my leader the best, but since you preempted me, yes, today is his birthday, and I wish him all the best. But
yep. I admire your optimism about the future and your role in the party moving forward. And I agree with a lot of what you said about the lack of consultation and the indications of arrogance, the hints of arrogance. I think these are fair comments to make. But I won't let you get away with this thing about making it seem as though there is more nepotism in this administration than there was in yours. It pales. I don't know if there is, there may be, and in every change of government there is going to be some of that. But to be honest with you, if you are fair and you have integrity, it pales in comparison. The oil and gas situation, it was marred with corruption, lack of transparency, lies in eve of elections. We messed it up. Your administration did. Agriculture, again, I must say that a lot more is happening. Agriculture is in a better place now, but I'm still not happy because I'm not seeing the structure there is to make agriculture work. But it's nothing like when you were there. It's a lot better, even when you were minister. The matter of youth, I think we're speaking a lot about youth unemployment, and we are not focusing on youth unemployability. Mark my word. Many of our youth, especially our males, are unemployable. And it is rooted from our homes, from education and everything else. So if you just say, oh, they're unemployed, that's not going to cut it. And I don't see the link between the unemployment or the unavailability of jobs and crimes. If you look at those who are involved in criminal activity, where did the crimes take place? Who is doing the crimes? As an attorney, I don't know if you have any data to show, how that link between people who are looking for jobs, can't find jobs, and committing crimes. I have some more to say, but I'll leave it for others.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
On your last point about the link between unemployment and crime, that is absolutely, I see it. I mean, I don't have the strict data to tell you, but I see it in my practice, that idleness on the block and the herd mentality and all of that. But we can have a discussion. I think the experts that we deal with on the issue of crime has said that, not just unemployment. I agree with you on the unemployable, and that is why I spoke about training programs. That is why I said about empower programs. I believe also, and again, we need to have more vocational training, but you did exactly what I said we should not be doing. I did not sit here and say who is nepotism. I mean, maybe you were being defensive in your mind because I never mentioned anything about that anyway in this conversation. But the issue here, my dear brother, is not who did more than who or did less than who. The issue is how do we take this country forward? And you raised the point of education of our youth to become employable. I agree with you. But to sit and talk about who had more of this and who had more of that, my dear brother, the government that is in power is in office. And the government that is in power cannot keep saying, well, you did and you did and you did. Because when you were campaigning, you said that you will solve those problems. So all we are doing is holding your feet to the fire to say you said you were going to solve it, so let's solve it. And I'm not saying that I said, many of them are good intention, but they just lack the capacity. And they should look to some of their own elders within their own party and elders across the floor to help them solve the problem. So let's not engage this morning on who did more or who did less. Let us come together, even here, even in this small space, to see how we can move it forward. I agree with you when you talk about vocational training to make them more employable. I agree with you when you look at the link between unemployment and crime. We need to look at it closer, but I do believe the statistics indicate that there is some kind of correlation. Of course, there are people who are employed who commit crime, but that's a discussion we can have. The bottom line I'm saying is we need to find common ways in which we can solve some of these fundamental problems that we face.
Let's take our final call on the program this morning. Caller, good morning. You're welcome.
Hello, good morning, JT, and good morning, Mr. Peter. I am happy to hear this morning that you mentioned that you have people in jail even arrested with tie gun and no bail. I thought it was only under the other side that a young man entering the police force for 3 months and getting paid, and he was not a police. He was not real police. So I wish the police now that have this man that had a tie gun, he should check it out before he arrests this person. And Mr. Peter, don't you know not the same day that the leaf fall in the water, it does happen. You know you have some impact on the young people today. Miss Emily tell us that once she send young people to give the young men pamphlet to read and to help them to know more about the drugs. And when you was there, take the paper, put it in your pocket, and when you was leaving, you leave a bottle of rum for them. You could, all these things have an impact on the young people. And before I run out, I want to say good morning to our doctor, Karen James, for my brother. Your achievement is just not only a walk in the park, but a run in the park with respect, discipline, and humbleness. We love you, Kirani.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Any response? I think we may have time to grab one more
caller.
caller.
Asked a question. She made a comment, but I don't know what she's talking about with some bottle of rum story. But
all right, let's entertain our final caller. Caller, good morning. You're live. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, and you're live. You may be our final caller.
Good morning. I'm Comrade Petro. As a matter of fact, the point to what the lady was making.
Could you go ahead, please, caller? Go right. Go ahead, please.
I thought I cut off because of the WhatsApp. All right. Okay, Peter David, he was known by the opposition leader as one of the biggest fraudsters in Parliament. I have the tape. And then we heard he say that he don't.
I think we may have lost him there connection-wise. I'm seeing this, we lost connection, so we apologize for that. So, David, we have just about 2 more minutes left on today's program, and I know you have to make a run for it.
I would have loved to hear what this caller was saying, but you got cut off. Caller, you could meet me and talk to me about it when you see me.
This caller is out there in the U.S. He's out there in the U.S. anyway, so
I see. It's via WhatsApp. But he can call me on my phone. Everybody has my number. Yeah, you were saying.
Closing contributions from you, sir?
No, yes, I want to thank you again. I had a wonderful discussion this morning. I think, I'd like the fact that some of the callers address some of the fundamental issues that we are facing. How do we get our country together? I think, and then the issue of even the caller who seemed to be very supportive of the government indicated that he agrees that this government is not listening. At least some of them are not listening, and I think that message should be sent out there, and that helps all of us to believe we can play a part in developing the country. I want to also wish our political leader a happy birthday. I don't know what he's doing with his day today, but do have a wonderful day, and he looks quite healthy. I know he's looking forward to many more. His mom is 102, so I wish him well on that. I also want to thank the people for the town of St. George for their support over the years. It's been good most of the time. Sometimes there are challenges with resources, challenges with getting what is needed to get the people going. We've done as much as we can. We were able to do. We've light. I see the light going up on the playing field in Tanti now. That is something that we did, the River Road project. I would urge the government, please finish the river rehabilitation project. It is incomplete, and I have no idea why it has not been completed. The road on H.A. Blaze Street causing a whole heap of congestion and inconvenience to the people on Green Street. Please get that done quickly. We can do it quickly. There are very good workers in Grenada and engineers who can get it done quickly, and you say you have the money, so get it done quickly. And a number of other smaller projects in the town of St. George. I hope that they fulfill their promises there. But all in all, I want to say thanks to the Grenadian people, thanks to the NNP, thanks to the party for giving me support over the years, and thank you to all of the people in this country for being so good that to work together to build this wonderful land. And thank you, my brother, for a very, very, very exciting discussion this morning. And thanks to all my friends.
Thank you also, sir. And best wishes goes out to to you for the rest of the day, and I hope to see you again.
Sure.
Hope to see you again. All right. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. Thanks all who contributed. Have a great day, folks. That's where we say goodbye.